elected officials that, they're off on these trips. And look, I'm the first person to say, go deer hunting. I don't care, or go to Vegas or whatever you want to do. But when important decisions are need to be made, maybe they shouldn't be out of town.
A golf trip. And I mean, why would you go on a golf trip when you got important stuff to do? Or why would you be in a deer stand? I mean, but as
Hmm.
a hunter, I would say, what better place to be?
I,
I don't know.
I would have to agree with it. All right.
Who
Well,
would complain?
yeah. All right. We are live. We've got about 20 people watching so far across Bossier Watch and Louisiana Watch. So, folks, y'all know the drill. We are here and we are live, and we are about to do a 2.5 minute countdown. That lets us share out, and we ask that you share this out maybe on your own timeline, or if you're in a group or something like that, share the show out so we can get a few more people watching and informed. And we will be back here in about 2.5 minutes. Go grab some popcorn, something to drink. Here we go. So we are back with show number 69.
Well, good afternoon, folks. Looks like a few of you had tuned in. I would have thought there would have been a whole lot more anticipation for the subject matter we're going to cover tonight.
Right.
How is our sound?
Sounds pretty good. I'm kind of checking here on my phone. If you hear a little bit of echoes, just because I got the phone up here. Sounds good so far. And yeah,
Now,
I would have figured. I mean, we're at 60 people, and we appreciate every one of you watching. But we had a couple of people reach out to us that since we posted about First Church, we should have another 200 people watching.
yeah, I will say maybe there is a gremlin in the machine or a ghost in the machine because I see a true disparity in some of the numbers that I see versus the software that we're using and the Facebook number that shows. But either way, we're happy with everybody that's watching.
Yeah, and of course, remember, folks, some of you are watching on our Louisiana Watch page, which we have this. It goes, Bossier Watch goes to Louisiana Watch and our Bossier Watch page. It's also streaming live on YouTube. So if you know somebody that they don't have a Facebook account and don't want one for whatever reason, they still want to watch us live, they can always search for Bossier Watch. One word is the easiest way to find us on YouTube, and they can just stream it with YouTube, no account needed, if they want to come in
Well,
that way.
what? Well, Rex, it may be more nefarious than that. They may not want the people that are watching on Facebook to know that they're watching. They may be Bossier City councilmen, or they may be firemen or policemen or people that we're even talking about.
Well, we've heard that some of our elected officials actually have friends or family members watch and tell them what's going on because they don't want to be seen, with their account watching. So, hey, to each their own, whatever.
And here's the thing. You know what? I don't hate or dislike anybody, especially with the subject matter that we talk about. We just, as a rule, we talk about everything. And I wish those folks would engage because you know what? We get things wrong. We do.
Yeah.
And I wish they would engage and explain some of these things.
I wish they would too. We've called them out multiple times and invited, they all have an open invitation to the show. So, yeah, I wish they would too.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Chandler, how many times have we said, Tommy, you're welcome to come on here and dispute anything that we say? I mean, well, I don't think we've totally bashed Tommy. We have called him out, and we're going to continue to, but I wish he would come on, and if we're not telling it exactly how it is, correct us.
Yeah, open invitation. I want to put a comment up real quick. Kaylee Larkin, who watches us frequently, says some of us have multiple people watching and commenting from one account. Aha.
Wow.
And Ashley Lee Bullock, did you get engaged, Ashley Lee Bullock? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Ashley Bullock, comment to us about the black band across the fire department emblem. I don't know how I missed, but maybe I missed something. What is that about? Anyway, moving on, Rex, to tonight's show.
Yeah, so our main topics tonight, we're going to discuss, and in no certain order here, but we're going to discuss some debit and credit card fees, and that means a little bit of math, Duke. And we're going to discuss the fire that happened at First Church, as we lovingly call it, otherwise known as First Bossier, or I guess used to be First Baptist Bossier, or First, yeah. Anyway, and hey.
First Church.
Yeah, First Church. And we're going to talk about the YMCA. They're back.
Not the YMCA. I thought we were finished with that. I thought the taxpayers of Bossier City were not going to have to foot the bill for another health and fitness center in Bossier City.
Well, that's what I thought too, and Tommy came out and said in a Bossier Now article, I think from one of the South Bossier meetings, that he was going to veto something like that. So I don't know, but we've got some information about the YMCA that we have to share. So, all right, well, let's get moving on. So where are we going to start first?
Yeah, and look, let's not skip the fact that we're going to talk about the Bossier City Police Department. We're going to touch on that as well, too, because there's some stuff cooking over there on all that. But we're going to briefly touch on it.
Okay, yeah. We got to mention that meeting. At first, I thought you wanted to go back to the Canine Unit news article that just went across Facebook, but we're going to skip that, folks.
Whoa. We're not
We'll skip that one. Let's just say you can go read Facebook and see the recent KTBS and Bossier Now articles on what happened there.
We got higher standards than dealing with pedophilia and all that crap. I mean, no.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's
not
bad.
Into that.
It's bad. So,
yeah.
All right.
So,
at least our murder rate over here is like 1/5 per capita of what Shreveport is. So we got to give Bossier PD credit for that. They do keep us relatively safe.
Yeah. So, Rex, do you remember when we were talking about First Baptist Bossier, First Church? I mean, we did a lot of series on that. There's been a lot of things that have went on there. And remember us talking about First Church, and remember us talking a little bit about the fire at First Church.
Yes, I do. We've discussed First Church we brought forward the information that people sent to us that they were really concerned about. We were concerned about it because of the political bent of First Church. And after we got that information out there, it's up to the church and church members and whatever they want to do. However, the fire is a big issue, and we've got some interesting information that maybe not a lot of people have seen or know about. And so, yeah, I think it's a good idea to bring this forward.
Yeah, and a lot of folks there's kind of like been rumors and questions and different things. I mean, people send us a lot of crap, and we committed that we would kind of dig into the subject matter, look into it a little bit more, and we did exactly that, and we gained quite a bit of information about all of that and the events that transpired regarding the fire. And I think a lot of people are probably going to be shocked by what we present and what they think, was the case or what they were told. I'm not saying that we're going to lay it out there and folks can draw their own conclusion based off of the facts that we put out there.
Right. Yeah, that's the main thing. And this is all, we're going to start rolling through some documentation here. I'm switching screens so we can get this pulled up. So we're ready to go to cut one?
Yeah, let's go to cut one. There's a lot of cuts in here and a lot of screens, but so this was the press announcement by the fire chief of the fire department, Brad Zagoni, as you like to say. His real name is Brad Zagone, but we like to call him Brad Zagoni. We think it's fun. I mean, Brad Zagoni, kind of like Brad Zamboni, Brad Zagoni. Anyway, what stays in Vegas happens in Vegas. But anyway, so the fire chief, on a serious matter, puts out, that the investigators say that the possible cause of the fire was an uninterruptible power supply battery backup for a computer.
Yeah, hey, that sounds plausible.
Definitely. No doubt about it. But that was the initial press release that was put out in regards to the fire that took place at First Church.
And let me point out, this was put out in 2018. We didn't have that one highlighted, but December the 12th of 2018, so we're going back in time here.
But there's been a lot of things that have transpired and rumors and things that have gave people a little bit of pause to say, what, wait a minute, is that the whole story? Really? There's a fire that burnt down and erased all of Dr. Fred Lowry's fingerprint on First Church. That's it. So I don't know, but is that the whole story? I wonder.
Well, yeah, could it be? And so are we ready to move to cut two?
Move right along.
All right, so let me get rid of this one. Let me drag cut two over here. Well, that's not nice. There is something so satisfying about watching a big church burn, which I don't agree with that at all.
Absolutely not. In fact, I think this was one of the things, and the reason that I included this in the notes is I think we would be remiss to not include that some people think that events such as this are good things. Some people think that a church being on fire are a good thing, and you know what? I mean, this is free advertising for this young lady. And we didn't just go and search this out ourselves. This was actually in the fire report. And I think, maybe this person was probably investigated or looked into, probably even interviewed to the comments. But why would you even look into them comments, if you suspected? I guess you have to rule everything out, right?
Yeah, I guess you have to, and I'm trying to deal with looks like a bot or a troll that we've got here. But and so, correct me if I'm wrong, this screenshot that we have up there, this is from a printed document from an information request, right? And so it's looks like maybe a Facebook screenshot that was on printed paper, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, this was some of the documents that we got from a public information request, and those came by virtue of that.
Okay.
So that is interesting. We got a bot hitting us, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Let me see if I can get over here and knock this guy off of there. Let me find him real quick. But anyway, so go ahead and tell me if I need to
Or
switch to a new cut.
or maybe he's a hired hand from the city of Bossier. That was what I would suspect that would
Very well, maybe. I'm trying to figure out which side he's on. Oh, he's on YouTube. Okay. No, hey, he actually answered us. Tyrone Jackson says you two are deluded. Anyway, but he's on the YouTube side, so that's okay. All right, anyway, moving on.
Rex and Duke are dog names. Golly, that is cool. I was always thinking like John Wayne, but I mean, he's saying a dog.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that like
all right.
a dog-faced pony soldier?
I guess so. Okay, and for the people that are watching on Facebook going, what are they smoking tonight? We're streaming live on YouTube, and so we can see those comments too, but not necessarily everybody else. So anyway.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
anyway,
moving on.
This individual keeps right on, with
Too, but
other.
not necessarily.
I hate to say vile things. I mean, but it was vile. I mean, anybody that finds pleasure or in a church burning down or what have you. I mean, I got to tell you that person needs some serious help. I mean,
Yeah.
that's bad, and we would be remiss if we didn't tell this story. And I hate to say, give this person advertising during this time. I mean, so there you go.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. What do we need to go to next? Cut 3?
We're being hit again. There's somebody else. John Wayne was named for a dog. These men have a combined IQ of 82.
All right, well, we'll keep adding. We'll keep blocking them. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
Bring the fire.
Okay, so what do we need to move on to? That's a distraction. So we're going to cut 3?
Go to skip cut 3 and 4. Go to cut 5.
Okay.
And as you know, in a previous show, we covered this.
Yes.
So, and this isn't a claim that was made just once. This was made over the course of multiple years.
Correct.
And it was basically a claim that was made just.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm on YouTube trying to take care of our little deal. So anyway, keep going.
Yeah, and it sounds a little far-fetched or what have you, but in a few moments when we get to the fact that there are some questionable things in some of the reports, you're going to be like, well, I got to scratch my head just a little bit. I mean, I'm wondering about this one because I can tell you this claim right here was nowhere in any of the reports that we got from our public, information requests. It wasn't there.
Now, to be clear, didn't this same person report some other things as well about Bossier PD, or am I imagining? I'm trying to remember back. And this wasn't all sent to us anonymously. Some of this is literally still on Facebook.
Yeah, it's still out there, and the claims, I would say, are consistent. This person has not changed their position. They've been consistent over the years. And I would argue that you would think that the claims would change just a little bit, but they haven't changed. They've been consistent, and they haven't wavered none.
Yeah, and look, one of the reasons for bringing this up is we have also heard over the years directly, I know I've heard it from people who are, let's just say, fairly high up the food chain around Bossier and Bossier Parish, that that fire was a little bit suspicious. So I'm not saying Bossier PD did it. I'm not saying the fire department did it. I'm not saying, Pastor Brad did it or anything else, but there have been some questions raised about that fire, of course. And I'm sure there are about most commercial fires. Was it insurance? Was it this? Was it that? Or was it just the uninterruptible power supply that shorted out?
Well, when you get the all of the fire reports, there's a little bit of evidence built in there that kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit more. So again,
really?
don't take our word for it. Let's go to cut 6 and let's review some of the documentation that was included in the report.
Yeah, well, let's see what the documentation says. Let me zoom this up a little bit so the folks in the back row can see it a little better.
So, as you can see, I'm assuming a U.S. Marshal, Jeremy Kennedy, received a tip from an individual that lives at Siesta Motel or worked at. I mean, there's actually another document, which is the original notes of the U.S. Marshal, that I guess took the statement or the report, and it's a little bit different, but anyway, it says, you know, Officer Kennedy met with Miss Wilson and she stated that around 5:30. Now remember in the press release they estimated that the fire started at 5:36.
Mm-hmm.
But this witness supposedly says that around 5:30 a homeless man was seen running from the direction of the church and ran across where the city of Bossier's got the alternative fuel station parking lot there. And what I can tell you in the other documents that the city of Bossier has sought to get video surveillance camera from the Civic Center, from First Church, from businesses across the street, and no surveillance cameras did any of that stuff pop up.
Hmm. All right, and to be clear, and you have to forgive me, I'm watching the comments, but to be clear, what we're showing on the screen right now came from official documentation too. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so this isn't stuff we made up or stuff that somebody just randomly typed up and sent. This came from verifiable documents from the fire department or whoever or the investigators. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. And we got a comment here, so I'm going to put this in there. Grady Davis says their IT person, Davin, drilled through the firewalls to run cable to the daycare area where classes didn't have signal. Okay, Grady, so I guess potentially, sure, that could have helped the fire spread. Duke, you might know more about that or have a little more insight into whether that would have a massive effect. I mean, because running the Cat 5 cable or Cat 6, that's going to be about a quarter-inch hole through the firewall, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, so I think what Grady is trying to suggest, and this was kind of what was put out there, was that the fire originated in this one particular office and it found its way through this quarter-inch size hole or what have you. Potentially found the fire was able to penetrate sheetrock through a hole the size of a quarter-inch, light on fire if there were wood studs behind that, and make its way into the attic and then be able to run the whole way. I think that's what is trying to be said there.
Right.
But when you look at all the documents and the reports, that isn't exact. That I didn't read that anywhere. I'm not saying it's not in there because I didn't read all the documents 100%, but that's kind of not in there, and that's not really what we're going to focus on. What
Okay.
we're going to focus on is the fact that there was where the determination of the fire crew determined their fire origin was in one particular office, and that it potentially or possibly I need to quit.
Yeah.
Let's move on and let's go
Okay.
to the documents.
Gotcha. So I'm at cut 7.
Yeah. So as you can see on cut 7 here, this is the fire investigators report, and it's talking about the fire investigation team. So on a fire of this magnitude, you end up getting, both the chief of fire prevention, the assistant chief, all of the investigators, everybody involved, and I would argue including the fire chief, who his career he originated from fire prevention. That was a part of his responsibility, so he's knowledgeable in the subject matter. He was a part of this. They, ended up in their conclusions. They determined where the point of origin, and there's things that you look for, as a fire investigator that will lead you in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there are telltale signs when there's a fire. You can actually look at the burn patterns, and you can tell, for the most part, it almost like a arrow. I mean, almost like a line. It's like a pointer. It points to where the fire originated and where it started. Now, the cause, that's a different question. Origin is one thing, cause is a different thing. So
Okay.
they determined the area specifically of where the start was. And Anyway, it was in this one office, Ray Rainey's office, and they describe it as there was this built-in knee space and that there was a battery backup system right there on the floor in the knee space. And so they recovered the remains of, and you can see it here, I highlighted it,
Mm-hmm.
the automatic backup system. And but if you look a little bit closer here, they brought a canine in, and the canine, it had a hit.
All right, and before we move on into that hit, let me clarify for everybody in case they don't know that a UPS is an uninterruptible power supply. It's basically a little battery backup. You can get them at Office Depot up to really expensive, industrial size ones and all that. And those little battery backup systems, they actually have a small, I believe it's lead acid battery in it, kind of like a miniature lawnmower battery in there. So I just want to say that to clarify to everybody what they mean by an APC UPS. APC is just the brand. And so there would be, a battery in there and, of course, electricity flowing in and all that. Okay. But the canine came in, and the canine had a hit. So explain what that means, dude.
Yeah, so these canines, like, they're trained, and it's just like a bomb sniffing dog. They're highly trained canines that they can smell explosive materials, and in this case, these dogs are trained to be able to find accelerants. Meaning petroleum products or things that would make the fire start faster. I mean, and we're talking about, like, I don't know that humans can even understand how well these animals, these canines, how well they can smell. I mean, if any of you watching, if you have working dogs that hunt, you know how well or how crazy it is that you could send a dog out, duck hunting, and they can literally smell a duck that's under the water that you've shot and crippled. They
Right.
dived under the water, and they can literally smell the scent of the duck coming up through the water, and then find it. Maybe those guys can understand this, but these dogs have, I mean, precise.
Right.
So the fact that a canine was introduced into the area where they believe the fire origin was, and it had a hit. And when they say that it had a hit, what they're saying is that it had a hit on an accelerant.
Yeah,
Meaning
something that it detected. Kind of like, I guess it'd be kind of like when they have a drug sniffing dog come in and they can smell stuff that no way a human could smell it, and they know it's in the trunk or whatever it is. These same canines are trained that when they smell certain things to react to that. Is that pretty much how it goes?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
you know, the thing was, and this is where the interesting thing. So Grady Davis is firing away on this, and
Yeah,
I
let me.
can't focus on all your comments, Grady, and
Right. I'll flash a
uh,
couple on the screen real quick, but we need to move through this and then we'll discuss
yeah,
maybe some more of this. But Grady does say, let's clarify the Bossier has one of the most experienced fire personnel around. They couldn't extinguish
without
the
question.
flames. Yeah.
Without, I mean, look, I was a Bossier fireman. Fire science degree from LSU. Kind of been there. I know a little. I mean, look, I am not a educated professional on the matter, but I got a little bit of experience here, and all the guys down there, they know their crap. I mean, Brad Zagone knows his stuff. All the fire prevention guys, I give them credit. They know their stuff. Over the years, I can tell you a lot of stories about them solving fire prevention crimes. I mean, yeah, I can't compliment them enough. But what I'm going to say is the dog hit right where the uh, backup power supply, battery backup, it hit on an accelerant right where the battery backup was.
Hmm.
Now, so what was it? Was it the battery backup or was it an accelerant? Now, everybody in the initial report, the public information release, said that they believed it was a battery backup. Everybody accepted that, moved right along, right? But here's the conclusion and of the fire investigator that wrote the report, and he says, I can say with an acceptable amount of certainty that the area of origin for this fire is located in Ray Rainey's office. Probably every fireman that went in that building, if they walked in there, they would probably be able to determine that as well too. I could tell you that I feel confident that I could have determined that. But here's where it gets a little weird. So maybe I shouldn't say weird, but it gets a little sketchy. And I
Right.
think the fire investigator did a fine job in articulating what he was trying to say. But he says, I cannot name with an acceptable amount of certainty the ignition source.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting wording right there. He cannot name it with an acceptable amount of certainty. That's very interesting wording. In other words, it sounds like there was some gray area there, maybe.
Well, now look, I mean, I got to look at our notes and make sure that I'm not jumping ahead in my commentary,
Right.
but there is some explanations here, and I would be remiss in not being, as it would say, being journalistically honest to not articulate what maybe some of the circumstances here on those comments and making those comments and framing it that way. I mean, I can tell you that the fire investigator did not take it lightly. And I know Chris Dyson. I mean, he's as good of a guy as they come. And I can tell you that his integrity is impeccable. Um, but when you're going to make a report of this magnitude, you know, you you've got to be on the money here. You got to.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of considerations to be taken here. So, what cut are we on, Rex?
We're on cut 8 at the moment.
Cut eight. All
So,
right.
but now I don't know if you're going to highlight this or read it, but his last sentence there, he says, I classify this fire as undetermined with the possibility of an electrical device malfunction. And again, I would say that's interesting wording as well.
Now, when this took place, I remember. I think I was in Utah, and I read a little bit on it, and I understood that it was determined that it was an electrical device, possibly a battery backup that had failed, and that there was a hole in the wall, and that the fire managed to go through the hole in the wall. Grady Davis elaborated on that earlier, for potentially a Cat 5 cable to be drilled through the wall or something like that. But apparently, the fire made it into that wall and traveled up the wall into the attic, and it had free reign once it made it to the attic. Um, but what you never heard nothing about was that there was a dog had an accelerant or had a hit on an accelerant right there proximal to the battery backup. I never heard that until we got these documents.
I don't remember hearing that in the news either. It was pretty much broadcast that, it was the battery backup deal. I mean, that's pretty much whatever all the chatter was about.
Now, Ryan Haygood makes a comment that's pretty interesting.
Let me put this out there. Hold on. Okay, so Ryan says, did the mortgage wire hit the insurance wire? Asking for a friend.
Now, I could probably lay some wagers on who the friend is that he's talking about,
Me too.
but somewhere down the road, I've heard that comment before. Now,
Yeah.
so now here's the thing. Now, what I would ask everybody to consider, if the investigators, you got to understand, you've burned a fire and you've got a pile of mush in a fire. Everybody watching, you've had a bonfire out in your yard and you've had all this mush. I'm
Right.
wondering, if you burned a piece of oak and you burned a piece of pine, could you tell the difference in the ashes? Could
Well,
you?
I probably couldn't, you know, but I would assume maybe there's a little bit of difference in the way that it burns, maybe the way that it looks, the way the ash looks, maybe how it chars. I don't know.
Yeah.
I,
No, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here in a little bit. I'm going to make you think. I want you to think about this. So, what happens if the investigator or the Bossier City Fire Department or whoever's investigating this, whether it's ATF or whoever, what if they come out and they say, you know what? Without a shadow of a doubt, this fire was as a result of the battery backup. This company, their battery backup, caused this fire.
well, I would think the insurance people would be suing the battery backup company.
Well,
Or vice
well,
versa, the battery backup company might take offense to that and sue the fire department. It'd be the lawyers winning again.
well, it would be wound up in court. I mean, and I would think that a company of, that does all these battery, you're a computer guy. I mean,
All right.
for these battery backups, I mean, I would think they would be wanting to protect their reputation,
Sure.
and you wouldn't want that crap being out there. So you'd probably sue anybody that made that statement, wouldn't you?
Oh, I should imagine they would. They'll have a team of lawyers at their beck and call to do it.
But if that actually happened, like you said, wouldn't you think that the insurance company would want to know?
Well, you would think that they would because they want to be able to, let let the lawyers do their thing. But the insurance company would want to try to be able to recoup some of their losses, if possible, depending on how the policy's written and all that sort of thing. So yeah, if they could pinpoint it down to this was the cause of it because of this, then yeah, they'd have grounds to maybe sue the battery backup company, try to get some money out of them and all that.
Well, as you know, it from what we understood is that the insurance companies were changed. I mean, there was one company, and again, this goes back during the time that there was a transition from the Fred Lowry era to the Brad Jerkovich era, and you had a new insurance company, as I understand it. We maybe, if anybody knows, correct us, but from what we understand, there was a change,
Hmm.
and from what we are told, the new insurance company wasn't as interested in litigation as maybe most insurance companies would be.
Hmm. That's interesting and odd.
That's interesting and odd. So let's move on to cut nine
Okay.
and get back to, so if the dog hits and on an accelerant or
Mm-hmm.
something within a room, what kind of is the standard procedure and what kind of happens? Well, evidence is collected, and in this case what happens is fire prevention. Those guys, they it's you take a metal can
Mm-hmm.
and you collect debris from the area where, let's say, the accelerant was believed, or where in this case the dog had a hit, and then you send those off to be tested by the North Louisiana Crime Lab. And in this case right here, you see the report where it shows that the evidence was collected right in the
Right.
area, or right where the canine hit on the accelerant or potential accelerant, or what have you.
Yeah, I think the highlighted handwritten part there, if I'm reading that correctly, for the folks watching by phone or whatever, says debris that was hit on by canine.
That's
One
correct.
one one sealed metal can containing debris that was hit on by the canine. So I'm assuming they took some of this ash or debris or charred material or whatever, and they put it in a sealed container, and there's probably like a chain of custody type thing or
But
something like that.
exactly, it's
Okay.
exactly how it goes. So they sent it off to the crime lab, and the crime lab, started their analyzation of it, and they analyzed it. And here is the first page of the report that they send back.
Okay, yeah, it should be popping up there any second. So yeah, it says item one, that highlighted in yellow there. Item one was analyzed by gas chromatography. Anyway,
Yeah.
mass spectrometry, and I should know that because I was in chemistry and physics. Anyway, and determined to contain volatile compounds. However, the presence of these compounds is insufficient for ASTM ignitable liquid classification.
All right. So they determined that there's the presence of these compounds and that it's insufficient to determine the class of, an ignitable liquid. There wasn't enough, and there wasn't enough or insufficient evidence to be able to class it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key word. They weren't able to class it to exactly what it was.
Hmm.
And so, meaning there wasn't enough present for them to classify the VOCs to a particular product. Meaning, was it gasoline? Was it diesel fuel? Was it kerosene? Was it motor oil? Was it,
Fingernail
you know,
polish, according to Barry Butler, maybe. Whatever it was.
yeah, yeah, not enough there to be able to determine exactly what it was. So anyway, go to cut 11
Okay,
and
let's get rid of this one and we'll drag in cut 11 here. Okay. Oh, nice graphs and numbers.
nice graphs and numbers.
Yeah.
And right there, you see the things, the notes that were highlighted and jump right out there at you. And again, I'm no arson investigator and I'm no fire prevention guy. I defer to these guys, but I mean, all we did was highlight the notes that were there in the reports that were gave to us, and that is ethylbenzene
Mm-hmm.
and ethyltoluene
Mm-hmm.
and toluene. Now, there's some significance to those particular chemicals. If you look across there and you see how much, well, I mean, why do you, why do those jump up there like that? Why do they have those highlighted the way that they do? What's the significance of that?
Maybe they're pretty
Um,
volatile chemicals.
Maybe they're volatile organic chemicals.
Hmm.
And so I put a link in our notes that
Okay.
wanted to kind of jump into to kind of ethylbenzene, ethyltoluene.
All right, give
And
me
so
just a second and I'll have that pulled up for you. So keep on talking.
why are those important? Um, I can't help myself. I keep looking at these comments. I mean, we're being bashed at the start of the show, and anyway,
Well,
my,
for now I've got the trolls on YouTube at bay, so we'll see how that works. But anyway,
I just want to know who from Bossier City's got the trolls on us.
yeah,
I
no
mean,
telling.
they have upped their game. I'm appreciative of that. Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
so this first link you want to do is that Interfire Online. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Duke?
go ahead.
All right, so let me get this pulled up on the screen. It'll take me just a second here. Let's see. I got to get faster at our software here.
Oh, that's okay. So anyway, that may not pull up all the way, but
I'll get it there.
we'll share the link, and we will. But when you start talking about accelerants and you start talking about flammable things, there's a lot of different components that are included in these things, ignitable liquids that you can are used historically to start fires, and some of these are right here listed in this thing. And you keep scrolling on down, Rex,
All
and you end
right.
up kind of getting down here to the bottom. You keep going a little bit, slow down just a
Ooh, methyl ethyl
little.
ketone. I recognize that from boat building
Wait a
days.
minute, number 18, toluene.
Oh yeah, right in there. Everybody ought to be able to see it.
One of the most commons right there, a solvent in paints, coatings, paint, explosives.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Adhesive solvent for model airplanes. Hmm.
that's right. Xylenes, you see that one right there. So ethyltoluene, ethylbenzene, and we'll go to the next link, and we'll
Okay.
jump ahead and get
All right.
moving. We'll get through all this stuff. But the point I'm trying to make on all of this is ethylbenzene and ethyltoluene and toluene. Those are things that are used in the process of, you know, uh, producing petroleum products. You know, hardly anything. If wherever you're watching this computer from, your computer, anything plastic, wood, laminate, all those things, your paint. I mean, it's hard not to come across things that don't have petroleum products
Right.
or have had anything to do with that process. But is it enough in all those things? You would think that so if just by virtue of a building that had paint, automatically if the dog walked in and smelt a fire, he would automatically be hitting on everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They could have been working on some sort of project for a youth group or anything like that, and had some paint or paint thinner or whatever it may have been in there. That's basically what we're saying, right?
Right. But in
Okay.
this case, the dog goes in specifically in that office and has a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start talking about these compounds, organic compounds or what have you, and you see right here, benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene
Mm-hmm.
are some of the primary components, you know, in the process of natural gas and petroleum. I mean, those are things that they're in the process of producing those things. So, and you keep scrolling on down all this, and there's a ton of information here.
Right.
These chemicals are in everything in every part of life, drinking water, blah 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 blah. But at to a level that the dog actually responded at this scene and in this, I got to tell you, it makes me kind of wonder a little bit. And overall, here we are, way years after the fact, and people asked us to look into it. We're looking into it, and we find that in the reports, you had a dog hit. We never heard about that.
Right.
You had a report saying that there were ethylbenzene and ethyltoluene, in the crime lab reports. And you recall, now I'm going to throw this one out there, Rex.
Okay.
And I'm going to take a beating over this, but whatever. But this crap about Ryan Gaddy. I
What?
mean,
Oh, well.
how Ryan Gaddy, how could he can't run anywhere?
Yeah,
How
we
can
just
he be the guy running across the parking lot?
Yeah, we showed y'all the report of the guy on the grassy knoll, somebody running across the parking lot, and no offense to Ryan, but he readily admits that he's not in the same shape he was when he graduated from Airline High School.
Now, I mean, come on. How many people out there, you heard this stupid rumor about Ryan Gaddy? Raymond Cruz, where are you? Raymond Cruz, calling Raymond Cruz, let's hear it.
Yeah,
But
and
this
folks,
stuff about Ryan Gaddy,
we're saying this from firsthand information. Okay.
yeah. So if there's any callers to want to challenge us on this right here and this question, by all means, you have an open platform right here. We're the invitation is right here. How can we be more nice about it?
All right, so I'm going to go back and put a couple of comments up here real quick. Let's see. Barry Butler says, nail polish remover. Well, it could have been. Ryan Haygood says, sure, that sounds logical. Paint thinner on the backup battery. Well, you got a good point there, Ryan, but let me just say, having been in lots of offices over the course of my lifetime, the things I've done, I've seen a whole lot worse than paint thinner sitting next to heaters and all sorts of things. So we're not saying that's plausible. We're just saying who knows.
Now I'm going to add a tidbit in here, and people who know what I'm talking about, you're going to know what I'm saying. But what I'm going to tell you is that typically, when somebody uses an accelerant to start a fire, it's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Right.
It's straightforward. The how and the why I'm not going to get into, because I maybe we need to leave that trade secret for the good guys. But what I would say is that the fact that we're talking about here, we have an electronic device that is cited as perhaps the failure that was the cause of the fire, and we have a hit by a trained canine to give a response to the detection of an accelerant. I got to tell you, that makes me scratch my head a little bit. That
Right.
makes me scratch my head and say, why would a dog have a reaction to an accelerant right next to an electronic device that was cited as the potential cause of the fault?
Yeah. And to me, the official report leaves a lot of wiggle room as to what may have been the cause. And, and to the arson investigators' credit, Because he couldn't determine it 100%, so I understand why, but there's still wiggle room in there. I want to put up another comment or two because it's in the comments. Ryan Haygood says that rumor started from Mike Johnson, the biggest liar on the planet. That's in reference to the Gaddy rumor. And Barry Butler, our good friend Barry Butler, says, I don't see Ryan being an arsonist. I don't either, but Barry, you know as well as I do, at the PEC meeting, the quote that was supposedly said in the church was discussed at the PEC meeting. I'll just leave it at that. And I thought that was a little ludicrous when I heard it, even though at that time, I had my own political differences and issues with Ryan as well, but I didn't exactly believe that. Okay, moving on.
Well, State Representative Raymond Cruz was said to be a part of this whole thing. I wonder where State Representative Raymond Cruz is. Is he, Raymond? You're more than welcome to come on here and tell the story. You were supposed to tell that story for a state representative race some years back, and you never actually stepped up to the plate and told that story. And I heard that personally from one Congressman, Mike Johnson. So I'm all ears to hear the story. We have the fire report, and you know what? The platform is yours. The mic is yours. We invite you to come forward and let's talk about it.
And, again, I don't want to sound like, like this is the pro Ryan Gaddy show and all that, but we all know, and we've discussed on this show and all that, what happened in that whole situation with First Church, and that's the political tie-in to us because, we're sitting here keeping an eye out on Bossier. And anyway, Duke, you and I both have had our differences with Ryan as well politically. But anyway.
I went after Ryan Gaddy, and if he does wrong again, I'll go after him again. I went after him harder than Mike Johnson or Raymond Cruz ever went after him. Any of those cats.
Right.
And I'm just going to say it like it is. I don't give a damn who it is. If you're not in the right, I'm going to go after you, and I'm going to call you out on it. And in this case, I'm still waiting on pins and needles to hear Raymond Cruz articulate the case against Ryan Gaddy. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Because I gotta say, the Gaddys, both Ryan and Robbie, were, let's just say, not treated correctly in that whole situation, as it turns out, and as the facts and other information have come forward through the years.
Yeah. Do I agree with him politically on everything? Absolutely not. Do I think he's 100% conservative? Absolutely not. But in this case, in this thing here, Raymond Cruz, come on, still waiting. I want to hear it. You never uttered the words.
Okay, so with that said, our conclusion here is that it's a little inconclusive based on the actual fire report, not Duke's conspiracy theory or Rex's tinfoil hat deal. According to the official documents, it's not 100% conclusive.
You know what? I'm not saying any conspiracy theory. I'm not saying that it was arson. I'm not saying that at all.
It could have just been the UPS and
it could have been.
Right.
But why was, I don't know. I have to play devil's advocate and say here, would you have put out there and fan the flames of speculation that the dog had a hit on an accelerant? Would you have put that out there? Probably not. If I was the fire chief, would I have put that out there? Maybe not. Right. I probably would have just said that, we suspect it's the electronic device. Yeah, but either way, the fact of the matter is, for anybody that says unequivocally that it was the battery backup, no, that's not correct. It was not clear cut. That's not true. You read the fire report yourself. We just presented it.
Okay. So that's it for the First Church tonight, right?
That's it for the First Church. We've been on First Church in a while. I haven't heard anything about First Church. It's like
been pretty quiet. I saw that Brad had tweeted a few things because I'm on Twitter and all that every now and then. But I gotta say, we're at 100. I don't know what's up with our count through the software tonight, Duke. But I gotta say that we are at over 130 folks watching right now. So First Church draws a crowd.
Grady Davis says, time for y'all to quit riding the fence. Take a side based off the information. Well, Grady, I mean, I appreciate that, and we have our opinions, but and we could easily jump off to one side or the other. But the truth of the matter is we're trying to. I mean, we're not professional journalists. We're trying to present the evidence and the counter arguments to both sides and let you form your own conclusion. I mean, we're growing ourselves in our journalistic abilities, right, Rex? So
Yeah. Well, and I'll just put it this way, Grady. So I'm not really going to walk the fence too much. I'll just say that fire, based on the data that we just showed, and based on past drama at that church, it's very suspect. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
we will leave it at that. So moving right along.
Yes. Shall we do math first, or are we going to talk about exercising and the village people?
I say we do math. I say math. Math never lies. And so, all of y'all, how many folks remember the village people? I mean, we got 130 plus, 135, 6, 7, 8 people watching. And do us a favor, share this video out because not everybody gets this. We get limited. We get Zuckerberg and all that. This is our community. Help us share it out.
Yeah, every time you like it, follow us, share it out, tag somebody, that helps the algorithm bump us up a little bit in the standings, and more people see it, more people get to hear this behind the political scene stuff. All right.
Tracy Long Davis is calling me out.
Let's see. What does she say? Duke, can you make a call as to the cause prior to the investigation being completed?
No, I can't. And I already know where she's going.
Okay.
No, I can't. But you know what, Tracy, the truth of the matter is I never got the opportunity to be the fire chief. In fact, I think I'm the only fireman in Bossier City that ever had a fire science degree from LSU. And I was never going to be in a position to make a call like that. That's why I'm not the fire chief and never got the opportunity. Because a true fire chief can make that call before the investigation's complete, right?
La 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 la.
Moving right along.
Okay, yeah. So let me see where I need to get caught up here on our.
Why do I feel like there's a hook with a big old piece of bait out there for me?
They're trying to get you to go for it, hook, line, and sinker. All right, so let's see. All right, so folks, we're going to try something a little bit different tonight as we go through just a little bit of some of the city council meetings, because we're going to talk about credit and debit fees, and yes, we're even going to involve a little bit of math. Okay, so are we ready for addition, subtraction, and some division, Duke?
Addition, subtraction. So if you live in Bossier City, you're wondering, what the heck are these guys talking about? So if you guys didn't know, your water bill and your sewer bill, unless you're in the case of Rex, where he has a water well and the city threatened to cut off his water well only to find that they can't cut his water well off. That's a different subject altogether. Yeah. But anyway, we're talking about you paying your bill and the extra fees you're going to get if you use a credit card or even a check, or if you direct deposit or ACH or all that stuff.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the Bossier Now article, so I'm going to skip down a couple of boxes there, Duke, for just a second, and we'll let Tommy explain this. I'm going to recite this. So this is a Bossier Now article, and it says Bossier City Tommy Chandler issued a statement Friday explaining a new processing fee recently approved by the city council, saying convenience comes with a price tag. The mayor explained that paying bills online incur additional fees charged by the payment processing companies, and that's an undisputed fact. But the city has finally decided to pass along those charges. Now, that immediately raises a question to me, and this doesn't fall on Tommy's administration, but who in their right mind, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, however many years ago or whenever it was that the city started doing the online payments, who at the city thought that maybe the payments were going to be processed for free and they would just let, a couple of percentage points ride, or that, they were going to give away to the credit card companies. I don't understand why they didn't think this through a little bit better beforehand.
Well, maybe they didn't have, or they had not subsidized or subbed out the engineering department, and they needed more proceeds to fund that at that time. That's probably what the difference was. So now you're having to mine, your P's and Q's a little bit more because you need more resources to keep paying for those kinds of things.
Well, maybe so, but here, Tommy says as more citizens choose to pay bills online, the surcharges levied, and you got to be careful when you say surcharges versus convenience fees. That's actually a whole legal terminology thing, as well as the terms of service with Visa, MasterCard, etc. So you got to watch whether you say surcharges or convenience fees. But they become increasingly burdensome on the city's budget. These fees totaled over $250,000, which resulted in an unnecessary loss of taxpayer dollars. So, according to Tommy, and I'm sure the financials bear this out, the city has incurred about $250,000 in surcharges or convenience fees.
Did I understand what the mayor of Bossier City, Tahoe Tommy, just said? He said that by not charging these fees to the people, the citizens of Bossier paying this, that the citizens of Bossier are losing their dollars?
Yes. That's what he said. Well, it's an unnecessary loss, yes.
I got to wrap my head around that. So he's saying that the citizens of Bossier are losing money by not having to pay a fee for themselves?
Well,
that money they can keep in their pocket?
Yeah, basically. But so here's the deal. Well, we're going to get to the numbers and the math in a second.
Wait a minute. Is he a Republican or a liberal? Wait a minute.
It's hard to tell these days.
I got to tell you. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He's one of those conservative Republicans who probably can't actually define it. But I'll give Tommy credit right here. If the city expects, I'm just going to use quick, very rough math. If the city expects $1 million a year in water bill revenue, but they're only getting $750,000 in revenue because they're giving $250,000 to the credit card processing companies, that's maybe a little sticking point, but that's not what I really have a problem with. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the city saying, hey, if you're going to pay by credit and debit card, then the city doesn't need to be on the hook for the processing fee. And there's only two ways to do it: charge an extra fee or raise the water rates to overcome that, which are going to get have a fee charged by the processing company because it's based off a percentage anyway.
I get that.
Okay.
But I think they addressed all of this in maybe even a couple of council meetings, like the November 2nd council meeting. I think they talked about all of this and they sought to address it, didn't they?
Well, they did, but therein lies the problem. So they did pass an ordinance at the November 16th City Council meeting authorizing the City of Bossier to pass along, this is the thing here, pass along any fees charged by processing companies to the customer or the citizen/taxpayer when electronic payment is used. These fees are applicable to all online and in-person payments made via debit card, credit card, or ACH. Okay? And he says this is only a pass-through charge to the customers. Bossier City is not profiting in any way.
Or ACH?
Yes.
Wait a minute, but I'm a little confused on that because I'm pretty sure I watched a council meeting where they were talking about, electronic transactions were not going to cost people.
Funny you should mention that because let's listen to them actually say that. And then, folks, I'm going to tell you what my real gripe with all of this is. We're going to get into the math part of it and the actual credit and debit card processing. So this may be a little bit wonky, but any of you out there that have a small business, this very well may interest you because we're going to do a quick overview lesson of credit and debit cards, which I have a pretty good knowledge of anyway before all of this. All right. So this is I'm going to jump back to the November the 2nd Bossier City Council meeting. And we're going to go to the 2555 mark, and we're going to listen to City Attorney Charles Jacobs. All right, so here we go. Let's see. Make sure I got volume up so everybody can hear this just fine. All right.
Water bill you pay by credit card, that service that facilitates the credit card charges 4%. So you're collecting $96 on a $100 water bill.
Okay, you heard that, right? 4%. His example was if it's a $100 water bill and you pay the city by credit or debit card, the city is getting $96 out of that. He specifically said 4%, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to jump forward. Let's jump forward. You had made a mark there, so I'm going to jump to that where Councilman Chris Smith asked about electronic transfer being free, which would basically, there is a difference in ACH and EFT, but I think Chris was referring to ACH, but let's listen to him. All right, so let me jump up here, and here we go.
Council, any other questions? And if they use their routing number and account number and do an electronic transfer, that's
Right.
free.
If you have a direct debit, the bank generally does not charge a fee, the financial institution, so there is no fee.
All right, now let me pause right there for a second. So that's Charles Jacobs again, city attorney. And again, he uses the word debit, and that's a little confusing because people think, oh, if I use my debit card, there's no fee. No, actually, the merchant pays a fee. In this case, the city would be the merchant, but the merchant pays a fee even for debit cards, not credit, but debit cards. He's, again, talking, I believe, about ACH transactions, where you put in your routing and account number. All right, but they're all confused about it, which makes us all confused. All right.
If you come up here and pay with a check or cash or money order, there is no fee. So it's totally up to the customer whether they want to pay a little bit extra for the convenience of going online and using a credit card.
Okay. So everybody got that. And we're going to get to who the merchant provider is. And no, it's not Mario Chavez. We're going to discuss that here in a second. And somebody's already pointed out who is that, Trish. Let me put this comment out here. Trish has already said 4% would be high based on the volume of money pushed through the city. Yes, it would, Trish. Very perceptive of you. Ashley Lee Bullock, something I was going to mention in a minute. We do not shop. Where have you been? Apparently they don't shop when it comes to merchant services, and it's costing the city and thus the taxpayers money. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of math for a second. So I'm going to jump us back over to here, Duke, and I'm going to get rid of our little topics for a second. And I'm going to bring in a little bit of math here. Okay?
Well, you roll with the math. I will point out that our technology has a glitch.
Okay. And what would that glitch be?
We will cover that later. But keep rolling.
Oh, you're talking about the viewer count?
No. Besides that.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. And I would like to point out, we quit talking about First Church, and we're at 88 viewers. So we lost about 40 or 50 people. They want to hear about the church burning. Okay. So let's do some math, and I promise, Ashley Lee, this won't be terrible to do. It's pretty simple. So you saw in the Bossier Now article where Tommy mentioned that the city, and he was actually clarifying. Initially, I think he had said like $500,000, $500,000 a year, but he came back and clarified and said it's about $250,000 in fees. And we also heard City Attorney Charles Jacobs state that they were paying 4%. I'm sure that's based off information from the City Finance Department. Okay. So 4% is 0.04. And so if we do a quick little algebra equation and we solve for X, so we know that they're paying 4%, according to Charles Jacobs. We know that they're doing about $250,000 in fees, so we're just going to use $250,000 for round numbers. And if we solve for X and divide 250,000 by 4%, then we come up with about $6.25 million in payments made online. Now, some of that's water bills, some of it may be tax payments, whatever it is. It's about $6.25 million in payments. Well, that circles right back to who was our commenter just a little bit ago, Trish, who said that's 4% would be high based on the volume pushed through by the city, because that's $500,000 a month that the city's pushing through there. And you're dead on right there, Trish.
Well, I'm wondering if they're making this kind of money, is it technically correct to say that if we're the city of Bossier and we represent the taxpayers, if we get all this extra money, that we're actually not making money because we are the representatives of the taxpayers, so we're not making a profit? Or are they going to divvy this back out to all the taxpayers in a tax break?
Well, here's the problem, and so I'm going to try to get through this. We need to jump back over to some video, but we're going to talk about paying a flat rate versus their effective rate versus interchange plus and a few other things. We're going to kind of get down in the weeds for a few minutes. Remember the
commentary.
Yeah, remember the quote, they don't shop around, and it's apparent here, and it's literally costing the city $250,000. Or maybe a little less than that.
Zamboni driver number 2 said we don't shop. He sure did. I remember that.
Yes. All right. So let me jump back over to video here. So give me just a second. Let me go back over here, and we want to jump over to the November the 16th.
Now, don't forget, Chris Smith specifically asked about electronic transfers, and they said they're free. It don't cost nothing. Same as checks or cash.
Yes. So that means, some banks, some processors charge for ACH. Some don't. It depends on your volume sometimes. Again, it just depends. So I don't know whether or not, they haven't made it crystal clear whether they're going to charge for ACH or not, or if the city or their merchant provider is charging and making X number of basis points off of that. And by the way, when you hear the term basis point when talking about credit cards, a basis point is 0.1%. So if I were the merchant services provider for the city and I were making interchange plus 2 basis points, that would be whatever Visa, MasterCard, and the acquiring banks or banks charge, plus 0.2%. 0.2%.
I got to tell you, this is from Halton. This is starting to make my head hurt. I mean, is this a limited ducks or is this not a limited duck? But what I will say,
we're dealing in fractions of a percent, so the feathers off the ducks.
Ashley Lee Bullock says, I thought he was Zamboni driver number 1. No, Ashley, he got demoted. When the city attorney said, oh, no, it was me, I mean, King David got demoted to, driver number 2. I'm sorry. Yeah. We can't change it.
All right, I'm going to put Matt's comment out real quick, and then we'll go into these quotes. Matt Barnell says, Rex, how many fees do you think they charge Bossier per year in all industries? That's a true overhead. It's going to be whatever interchange is for the card swipes that come through there, Matt, just like any other. Doesn't matter whether it's the city, Walmart, your business, my business, anybody else's shop around here. It's virtually all the same. It's just how they're set up with their merchant provider and how much the merchant provider is making. That's really what it boils down to. I used to be in the credit card business. Okay.
All right. Keep rolling because we got to get to the YMCA.
Yep. So I promise I'm not going to get too much further in the weeds here. So I want to go to where Chris Smith asked who the merchant provider is. So that's going to answer a couple of comments and questions earlier. So let me jump up there. So this is at the 8:19 mark in the November the 16th meeting. Here we go.
Who is our merchant services provider? Do we know?
Who is it? Heartland.
And do they charge, on the credit cards, do they charge a percentage or is it a flat rate?
I don't know this. I know.
It's a flat rate that they charge?
It might be like a flat rate per charge, and then on top of that, a percentage.
Okay.
Now, did you hear that?
I think you said it might be.
Might be. That's the key word. The key word starts with an M, might. Now, I'm not clear, and I didn't go back and look and see who. I think it was one of the ladies from the finance department. I think.
That was Phyllis, I can tell you.
Was that Phyllis?
Well,
yeah, but she's usually got the make.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it was Phyllis, I'll cut her a little slack because she just may not know. But you would think they would be able to answer immediately whether they were on tiered pricing or they on a flat rate. And look, at 4%, they could use dadgum PayPal or Square. That's 3.5% for online, card not present transactions, and save them 0.5% right off the bat. I'm not saying that's what they need to. I'm being a little facetious, but that's ridiculous paying 4%, even if they're calculating their effective rate of 4%, including statement fees and all that, and batch fees, which is not going to be that much compared to $6 million a year. So, in other words, they're sitting here making decisions and they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't. They don't know the math on this. They have no clue. Again, I'm not opposed to the city recouping some of these fees because the city is having to pay this. I get that. But it just doesn't smell right completely to me.
Well, it would seem that they have already rubber stamped, passed it on through, and there's no going back. So the citizens of Bossier, you're already stuck without the ability of potentially anything cheaper because this is the best offer you can get, right?
Yeah,
You don't
it
shop
is.
around.
It is. And so David Johnson says it's not their money, so it's not hitting the radar. Correct. That would be OPM, other people's money. So I'm not going to dwell too much.
But Tahoe Tommy was there to change things, was there to make things better.
Well, notice Tahoe Tommy ain't talking really much about this. But I'm going to jump ahead to Chris Smith again, where he talks about the city's not making any profit or additional revenue off of this to verify that. So let me jump up there. Let's see if I can get this thing to play.
I just want to make sure that we're just passing this fee off. We're not making a profit
No,
on
no.
this.
We're just recouping our money.
That's it.
Molly, is that something you can get an answer for before we get done today?
The exact percentage that
Yes, if that's, yeah. Does everybody, I know we have several different departments that use that. Do they all use the same thing? Okay.
So they're all using the same processor.
Council, any other questions? Please cast your vote.
Okay, and so they did vote. I'll jump up to the vote results. They did vote to go ahead and authorize the city to charge this additional fee. They haven't declared what the additional fee is. They said that they're going to let the merchant provider or whoever is doing their online transactions, which may actually be two different companies, by the way, they're going to let them add that additional fee on. Kind of like when you pay the electric bill online, they have like a, I don't know, $2.25, $2.95 fee, or whatever it is. So they're going to add that on there, and it's not like it's an extravagant fee, but again, they don't have a clue about the credit card processing. They don't know how much they are not making, and they're sitting there claiming 4%. So I want to run through a couple of things that'll take about 5 minutes, and then we'll move on here. Okay, so let me get myself clear here. So, all right.
Yeah, the bottom line is they don't know. They're talking and they don't know. The same as, I mean, we're talking about fees. If you want to Zelle them money, which is a direct transfer into their account, I mean, they're going to try to hit you with a fee. Apparently, that's what I'm reading.
Yes, they are.
I may be wrong, but that's what they're saying. But they're not making a profit.
Yeah, they're not. And here's the thing. I guess they're going to work out some deal with their merchant provider where if it's, let's say it's a $100 water bill where the city is going to get the full 100, the merchant provider is going to charge, again, I have no idea. Let's just say $2.95. I don't know, whatever it's going to be. All right. So I want to go to cut 50. Let me put this up there. So the payment processor that they use, according to that meeting, somebody asked it earlier, is they're using Heartland. But there's a catch here for the online stuff, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. And you go to Heartland's website. Heartland's a fairly reputable company. Heartland advertises the fact that they do interchange plus pricing. And interchange is important because that's the actual fees, pretty much, that are charged between the banks as the money moves around. And then Visa, MasterCard, Discover, et cetera, Amex, and all that get a small percentage of that fee. Okay, so Interchange Plus is a very interesting option because let's say, Duke, that I use a Visa with rewards on it. You know, like if I spend so much money on the Visa, then I get X number of rewards points that I can cash in. Well, there ain't no free lunch ever. So that rewards card would have a higher rate. I'm just picking a number, but it might be 2.5% when I swipe it that the merchant pays. Okay, so if I go to Duke's hardware store and swipe my Visa with rewards points, that will cost you $2.50 for every 100, plus a 10 or 15 cent transaction fee. Okay, but if I go in there and I use just a straight no frills credit card, that might be a 1.5% transaction that you pay. So instead of costing you $250, if I use that card, it might cost you $150. And again, I'm completely making these numbers up, but they're real world kind of examples. All right, which is a far cry from the 4% that the city claims they're paying on a flat rate. Literally, they could go do a Square Up account for 3.5% for online. I mean, that's ludicrous. All right, and again, I'm not saying they need to go use Square. I'm not saying the city needs to do that. But now, Trish brings up a good point. She says debit cards usually process at a lower fee than true credit card transactions. That's true. As a matter of fact, let's look at some of these exchange rates or interchange rates real quick. And folks, I'm going to try to move through this pretty quickly. But the typical interchange rate, the typical interchange rate is 1.7 to 2% for credit cards and 0.5% for debit cards. That's interchange. Now, nobody's going to pay interchange. That's what the banks, as the money moves, pay each other. And again, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, et cetera, get a small percent of that 0.5%. Okay? The average credit card processing. So again, here, credit card for the 4 major credit card networks: Visa 1.4 to 2.5, MasterCard 1.5 to 2.6, Discover 1.55 to 2.5, and Amex 2.3 to 3.5. That's credit card rates. And again, that's interchange. So I don't want everybody to think that I'm saying that the city's going to be averaging 1.4% on Visa credit card swipes. And some people do pay their bills with credit cards because, again, they have rewards points, or that's how they budget their money.
Look, here's the thing. If the city of Bossier wants to directly do something good for the citizens of Bossier, how can they do that? Here is a way that they could do that directly for the people who utilize the services of the city of Bossier. You can specifically, without even trying real hard, help the people within your city.
Yeah.
This is a way you can do it.
Now this is where it gets even more interesting. So I've got Visa interchange rates now, or fees. Now there's actually a lot more Visa cards than this. This is just, let's say, the most popular. Let me put it that way, okay? And I want you to look down. I don't really have my little highlighter going here, but you see down there the second bold, you got swipe rate card present on the right column. The next set of bold is keyed rate card not present, okay? And that's for a Visa debit card, all right? That would be an online transaction. That's a keyed in, the card's not present. So you're typing your credit card number into the website, okay? Visa debit, small bank is 1.65% plus 15 cents. So it doesn't matter whether it's a $5 transaction, a $100 transaction, or a $10,000 transaction. It's 15 cents plus 1.65%. Visa debit, big bank regulated, 0.05%, not 5%, 0.05% plus 22 cents. And then a prepaid Visa debit, again, these are average rates, interchange rates, 1.75% plus 20 cents. Now, again, that's interchange fees, so the city is always going to pay more than interchange. But I'm just showing you here, the city's math ain't adding up, and this is why we keep talking about it, and a lot of other people are as well.
Well, where is Tahoe Tommy in this? I remember watching in that video, he was getting all uncomfortable in the seat whenever questions were being asked regarding this issue. Why was that? I mean, and
Tommy should have had the CAO all over this. Amanda should have been all, and I'm not faulting Amanda, but they should have been all over this. Holly Cole brings up a good point. So the city attorney either doesn't read the contracts thoroughly, cough, cough, like the one that required a special meeting to fire a contractor, or he just creates an answer when questioned.
I got to tell you, boy, that's a interesting quote that she says right there. Boy, I got to go back to another one there. Shane Cheatham, I don't know if he was calling me out. I don't know exactly what that means. He says, Duke, where is your hardware store located?
Oh, well, hold on.
What the heck is he talking about?
I said if you hypothetically had a hardware store, Duke's Hardware Store, but there actually is a Duke's Hardware Store down in Columbia, Louisiana, by the way. It used to be. Okay. Duke's Hardware down. So I mentioned your hypothetical deal, yeah. And Shane wants to know where your hardware store is located.
Yeah, anyway, I could try to make some stupid, corny joke, but I'm not going to do it. Anyway, I'm still waiting on Raymond Cruz to tell me about Ryan Gaddy and First Church and the fire. Anyway,
Are you holding your breath?
Move-
You turning purple yet?
moving right along.
Yeah, so we're almost through this, I promise. Ashley Bullock brings up a good point, and I've forgotten about that. The Bossier Water Department system got hacked a couple of years ago, and several people she knows got hosed from that. She uses her credit card now. And Ashley, that's a good point, and answers a comment earlier about why somebody would use a credit versus a debit. You have more consumer protections using a credit card than you do
Wait a
a
minute.
debit card, by the way, folks.
How many years ago was that? Was Manchac in charge?
I don't remember, Duke. It wasn't that long ago because the city had a big deal where they had to change and then you couldn't pay online and they were getting somebody else to build the back end of the website. And that
Well, you
brings
were-
up,
Manchac was in charge of the city of Shreveport, and they had some kind of crazy something over there with their billing stuff.
yes, they did. Amazing how that just seems to carry over, right?
I gotta tell you, boy, that's making me scratch my head just a little bit. Am I missing something here? Is there some dots to connect?
We might need to do a little more digging. Let me put up one more screenshot and then we're moving on to the village people. Okay, so this is a screenshot from, let me pull this down so everybody can see. If you go pay your Bossier water bill right now, you're going to be redirected to firstbilling.com's portal for Bossier City. First Billing is non-Heartland. According to the city, they use Heartland for their payment processing, but they're using First Billing's online payment portal. So if you go to the bossiercity.org, click on water bill or whatever, it redirects you to First Billing to actually pay that water bill. So these, unless the city changes, these are the people, as of this afternoon, that are going to be charging the additional fee for the payment processing. And I kind of highlighted these. I'm not saying this is what the fees are going to be. This is what they have, and they're frequently asked questions. So these are possible fees, and these are, kind of common numbers. So this is probably what they'll be. Again, I have no idea yet. But an e-check, a debit or credit, from $1 to $75 will be a $1.99 fee, and if it's $75 and a penny to $5,000, it's a $2.25 fee.
Rex, I don't know if you're seeing it, but there's a lot of comments that are coming through talking about Manchac and overtime billing. That is an interesting thing.
Why, yes, it is. So let me wrap this up right here.
Okay, wrap it up, and I want to come back and comment on that.
Yeah. So, folks, here's the thing. Again, I don't have a problem with an extra fee so that the city's getting, the amount that they're trying to charge for water, or in my case, trash services and all that. The problem I have is the city doesn't really know their own math. And they're getting hosed on their merchant rate. They really are. And full disclosure, I used to kind of be in the credit card business and all that. I don't really do it any longer. So I can say with absolute certainty, if they're paying 4% effective rate, they're getting hosed. They could save the taxpayers money, save us in reduced fees if they would just shop around, King David.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about this Manchac and overtime stuff.
Well, this water thing, I hate to say it, as sad as it sounds, Tahoe Tommy, maybe you need to park the Tahoe and pay a little bit more attention to the taxpayers paying for the different taxes and fees across the city of Bossier and what the true cost is going to be, because I don't know that everybody is on the same page and that what's being articulated is accurate or not. It seems to be that there is not clarity on the subject. With that said, Rex, there's quite a few people have posted comments about overtime in Manchac. And what I would say, and I'll say this, everyone posting these things know that we have already filed requests for documents, and we are already in receipt of some documents, and we are already analyzing those documents, going through them. Know that we have follow-up document our follow-up requests as we are analyzing those documents, and we expect to be able to report to all of you on some of those findings in the very near future. And we think we know the result of that. But before we know the result, we're going to wait and let's let it come in.
Yeah, we need to. We don't want to pull a Charles Jacobs and call a special meeting to fire somebody and then get egg thrown on our face. We want to make sure we have all our T's crossed and I's dotted before we bring it out. But yeah, like Duke said, let me assure you, we do have some more information on this. We're just not quite ready to present it yet.
And let me take a step back here. A lot of folks are throwing out there about overtime. Make sure you understand this. The only questions are not specifically related to overtime. In fact, there are several other questions about billing and things that we are looking over, scanning over, and questioning, and we are in receipt of documents that, quite frankly, I mean, we expected to not get. We didn't expect to. We expected them to be. What's the word, Rex?
Well, I would say redacted, yeah, or something. Yeah.
We expected some to be redacted, and we are now in receipt of those, and we are getting close to being able to put those out publicly. And when we do, I think that there will be some earth-shattering things and probably be some serious questions for City Hall.
Yes, some very serious questions. So, and folks, what y'all have to understand is that we get inundated with so much information because there are a lot of people out there who want to share information to bring this out to the public and to the public light. You know, just kind of Duke and I trying to help manage this. And honestly, Duke does a lot of the legwork. I'm doing a lot of the tech side of it. Duke does a lot of the legwork on this type of stuff. It takes a little bit because, again, we can come out and give our opinions. We are not professional journalists by any stretch of the means, but we still, if we come out and present something as fact, we want to make sure it is the gospel. You know, if we come out and present it as our opinion or a rumor, we clearly state that. So anyway, off my soapbox about that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it always ends up, you know, the thing is there are witnesses to events, times, and things that occurred. And when you cut to the chase and you've got to determine whether or not those witnesses are willing to come forward and testify to whether or not, or say that, you know what, that's inaccurate or that is accurate. And it's kind of like a puzzle when you got to make sure all the pieces are put together. And what I will tell you is that we've had sources that have presented us with countless bodies of information. We have to do the legwork, get the information from the government official, and then cross that bridge at that point. And we're real close at crossing that bridge. And I would encourage some people, you might ought to consider looking out after your own interests.
Yeah,
right?
Very well put.
YMCA. We got to move
on. Let's move on to the YMCA. I need to, except we would get dinged by the copyright police. Otherwise, we would have some village people playing in the background.
Does everybody want to hear me sing?
I don't, Duke. I think you probably sing about as well as I do, and that's not very well.
So, Rex, remember us, like boring on about the YMCA and that how earlier in the year it was tried to be snuck through, and you know, I think David Montgomery brought it up, but Bubba Williams shot it down because he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting to the point of being confusing now about whether, you know, is the YMCA on? Is the YMCA off? I mean, what's going on here? What is the deal?
Okay, well, you know what? Something raised my dander here not long ago when Tahoe Tommy showed up in South Bossier and he got asked a question about the YMCA.
Yes, he
And,
did.
You
And
know,
I'm pulling up the article now, so I'll have it here in about half a second. Let's see. There we go. So what was, what's Tahoe Tommy's stance on all of this?
well, from what I recollect, and the article, and I think the Bossier now, Hal was down there, and it may have even been him that asked the question.
Probably
I
was.
mean, we reported on it or whatever, and from what I understand, Tommy more or less said that if the ordinance says we're going to build a $30 million YMCA and give it to somebody, no, I'm not for that.
Yeah,
And
he said he is a no. So let me see if I can. Not as new debt. Now they did do a $70,000 feasibility study sometime around 2017 or something like that. And in April of this year, April of 2021, King David himself introduced an ordinance to build the facility. So I'm reading straight from Bossier Now's article, and again, we appreciate Hal for the great reporting that he does.
did you just say he said? I mean, did I see that? Not as new debt.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the headline right there. The North Bossier YMCA, not as new debt. And folks, I've said this before. I will say it again. If you don't think there's a North versus South war, again, I will give you a quote from somebody on the Northern Alliance. What do those folks down there in South Bossier want us to do? Move City Hall? And I put that nicely. That's not exactly how it was said. So this is a North-South thing.
Well, I mean, technically, if Tommy used those exact words, I mean, he may be actually correct. I mean, I gotta tell you,
He could be. I mean, let's go down. Let me see if I can find exactly what Hal quoted him as saying. Let's see. Let's look down here. Here we go. All right. Mayor Tommy Chandler says he will oppose the measure if the council attempts to fund the fitness center from the new debt. That's that $70 million loan they're fixing to take out to refinance the debt.
you said just a second ago the old debt versus the new debt. So I'm guessing what he's meaning is if they attempt to fund it out of the 75 million new debt, he's got a problem with it. But if they try to do it out of the old debt, he doesn't have a problem with it. So he's going to use old bond money to fund it, and he doesn't have a problem with it then?
I don't know. Ever since David his no shopping deal, which is where that originated, I've been thoroughly confused about where any of them stand on this, with the exception of maybe Chris Smith and maybe Darby. Okay.
So he's going to. So I think he goes on and he said something to the effect of, that if he had to, he would veto this if it came up or what have
Well,
you.
all right. So let me read the quote attributed to Tommy. Says if the ordinance says, quote, we're going to build a $30 million YMCA and give it to somebody. No, I'm not for that, Chandler told Bossier Now in an exclusive interview. He said he would veto such a proposal, quote, if I had to. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, reading between the fine print, if the city of Bossier was to build it and retain ownership and then just say sublease it to the YMCA, would he then be okay with spending 30 to 40 million? No, I'm saying 30 million.
You bring up a good point because the mayor also said he believes the previous estimate of $30 million to construct the facility has likely risen since the idea of a North Bossier YMCA was presented. Maybe he doesn't like the $30 million. Maybe if it was 40 or 50, he would just be fine with it. Who knows? He did say $30 million.
He did say, but I got to tell you, he also said that if people in that South Bossier meeting, from what I understand, he told everybody there, I mean, there was only 50-something people there or whatever, that if people want to go to the YMCA, they can go to Shreveport.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big one right across the river.
Well, but maybe he's just talking about Shreveport. I mean, South Bossier. If you're South Bossier and you want to go to the YMCA, I mean, suck an egg, you can go to Shreveport if you want. Or
well, maybe the city. maybe the city will subsidize flak jackets for everybody that has to go over to the Shreveport side. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe that's part of the $30 million. I had to get my dig in at
we're
Shreveport.
speculating here. That's his words. I wish he would just come on here and tell us exactly what he was trying to say and what he was meaning.
Yes, I wish you would too.
But I don't think he's going to do that. For
Well-
some reason, I think he's being counseled that he shouldn't tell the public exactly what he means. He's all over the place.
A little wishy-washy on that. However, is there any other support in town for this YMCA other than probably the guy that is or would be heading up the YMCA? Is there anybody else that supports this thing?
Now, that's an interesting subject as well. And look, we're not beating up and bashing the YMCA. I think the YMCA program, the YMCA programs, I think they're good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to the interests of the taxpayers. In my opinion, I mean, YMCA is a private organization, and we're not here to defend private organizations. We're here to look out for the taxpayers and to
at least let you know. Let you know what's going on.
The activities of local government at multiple different local governments. Well, with that said, to your question, yeah, we got notified here actually today that the Bossier Parish School Board is in fact in support of the YMCA. In fact, Mitch Downey sent a letter, saying that the school board and himself or whatever, that's what we're told, is that he sent a letter to the city council that him and the school board are in support of the construction of the YMCA.
Well, let me make sure I heard you correctly. Mitch Downey from the Bossier Parish School Board sent a letter to the city council saying that the Bossier Parish School Board supports the YMCA. Now, why would the Bossier Parish School Board support the YMCA? Well, I'm going to have to call Adam Bastamar, who is my school board member.
Well, I got to tell you, there is some, from what I'm getting, there is some questions out there on all of this. Now, as you know, Rex, we sent a email to Mitch Downey and specifically requested a copy of the letter. We have gotten no response from Mitch Downey as to the copy of that letter. But what I can tell you is that off the record, we have gotten some responses from some school board members saying that they have no knowledge of this and that they are aggravated about it and that Mitch Downey acted on his own and that the school board was not consulted on this and that Mitch Downey put this out there on his own. So I don't know what is accurate or what is inaccurate, but we're working on trying to find the answer. In addition to that, Rex,
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. So an anonymous source it's weird. Like, I don't know, all of a sudden just like crap started pouring out of the woodwork here right at the last minute on the YMCA. So folks are like, how in the heck can the YMCA be the big thing? I mean, we put First Bossier Church, the fire as the top. I mean, the first thing we came out of the gate.
Right.
A lot of people would argue maybe you should have had that the last thing, but this Bossier Parish School Board, Mitch Downey, obviously is taking the cake here. So why the school board, we got school board members that are saying that they weren't consulted. Mitch Downey saying that him and the school board support the YMCA. But then we had an additional anonymous source that provided information to us that says that Mitch Downey was, what's the right word here? Not squeezed or
wouldn't exactly be a bribe because he wasn't offered membership, was he?
Well, his support and the school board support was sought by none other than David Montgomery and Bubba Williams directly.
Ding, 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 ding.
Now, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying what was communicated to us. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But I will tell you that considering that David Montgomery put the bill or put the thing forward in the city of Bossier earlier in the year, it would stand to reason that David would have been a part of this. Now, Bubba voted against it earlier in the year. I don't know why Bubba would have been on board with going trying to, pitch Mitch Downey to get the school board on board with this. Um, I don't understand all that, but that's what we're being told, and we're just putting it out there.
Well, okay, but I still don't understand why the Bossier Parish School Board, at least Mitch Downey, would be so much in support of this YMCA. Do we know, I mean, was there like an incentive or anything, or he's just decided to support it?
There's got to be. I got to tell you, probably they went to him and said, you know what? Every school in Bossier Parish, if you want to create a swim team or what have you, you'll have access to be able to use the facilities and do whatever you want to do. And by all means, Bossier City and the taxpayers, especially the taxpayers of Bossier City, all you guys, you're the ones that are going to pay for this. It won't be the guy or the girl that lives outside of the city limits of Bossier. It'll be the people in the city limits of Bossier. I wonder how much will the school board, and let's not leave the police jury out, because I understand that the police jury has done been politicked on this deal as well too, and that there are quite a few police jury members that are in favor of this. But here's the thing: the police jury people and the school board, what are y'all going to kick into this? Are they going to kick any money, or is it only going to be?
Or are they getting a free ride?
Yeah, are they going to get a free ride, or is it only going to be the citizens of Bossier City that are going to pay for this?
Well, and Ashley Lee Bullock puts up a good comment. She says, furthermore, why would anyone care if the school board supports it? Well, if they're not supporting it financially, if they're just coming out and saying we support it to try to help nudge people along, that's one thing. If they support it financially, that's a whole other ballgame, and we fought that fight a couple of years ago when they tried to basically double the millage rate. But let me just say this. The reason that we're bringing it up as an issue is because the lack of transparency. It's like the secret network going on, and instead of people just coming out and being forthright about it, it's like this secret behind-the-scenes deal going on, and so we're bringing it out from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes.
Okay, Rex, I just anonymously had a document sent to me. Now you're going to have to shade out the recipient of this letter, and but I can't pull up my my tech to be able to do that. So you're going to have to do it. All I can do is send it to you for you to do.
Okay. Are you going to put it in the folder, or where are you going to put it?
No, I sent it to you by text.
Okay, I should get it any second.
Yeah, so I dropped it on you, but the recipient needs to be blotted out.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem. I ain't got it yet, so as soon as I get it, we'll pull it up.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Got it. All right, go ahead, and I'll be blotting this out.
Okay, so up to this point, I hate to say that we had been getting anonymous information that this had transpired, and now I think I haven't even looked at the document. I just got it sent again to me anonymously, and I just forwarded it to Rex, but I think it's confirmation of what we're talking about here, because we sent the letter to Mitch Downey to confirm whether or not it was accurate or not that he actually did send a letter, and we got no response. We got nothing at all. We understand the police jury members that their support was sought after. We understand that there's quite a few police jury members that also are, whether they're truly in support or not, I don't know, but their support was sought after, and there's several of them that have conceded to support it, although I haven't seen anything publicly put out there. So I would point out that there's a letter.
Yes. Okay, looks pretty much like a form letter, I would assume. So I'm guessing that, he sent this to several people, but here it is. I'll skim through it. Great partnerships like the one Bossier Schools has with the city of Bossier are critical to the overall success of our community. Another one of those partnerships that benefits our school is the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana, and we are incredibly excited and supportive about the prospect of a location being built in Bossier. Anytime we can offer additional opportunities to the children we serve is a win for all of Bossier. Not only would it benefit our boys and girls' health and well-being, but also their safety. Recently, I met with YMCA Executive Director Gary Lash and learned about the water safety classes currently being offered to every second grader in Caddo Parish. It was disturbing to learn that childhood drownings have been on the rise nationwide since COVID, and most of those tragedies have happened in shallow water. Okay, so he goes on to say logistically transporting students across the river is not conducive to a large number of our elementary schools in Bossier. I'm sure they don't have enough flak jackets for the kids. But if the proposed location becomes a reality, our school district will be able to partner with the YMCA and take action to help prevent drownings. Would someone please think of the children? Partnering with the Y and having a facility of this magnitude will heighten that quality of life and put us on par with other progressive cities that value the same pursuits we do. Sincerely, Mitch Downey. So I don't disagree with Mitch. In full disclosure, one of my boys was a lifeguard for the Y over in Shreveport a couple of summers ago. I have nothing against the YMCA at all.
Well, and there's a thing or two I see here. I don't see the school board. Scroll back up to the top. I don't see that this is representing the school board.
No, but it's sure on their letterhead.
Yeah, it actually is on their letterhead. It sure is. And I mean,
maybe he didn't sign it. He didn't sign it as Mitch Downey, local citizen. He signed it as Mitch Downey, superintendent, and mentioned partnering with the schools.
Yeah, and I would. I don't know. There was a part. Scroll. There you go. Okay. So safety classes, swimming and water safety classes. Are you telling me they can't do that at Cypress Black Bayou? Does the Bossier Parish school system not contribute to Cypress Black Bayou Recreation Center and the water out there?
If you remember, the nature center up there is somehow some part of the Bossier school system, which is how Robert Berry and his crew try to get by with a complete no guns area in that park. They have big signs there.
But when you go into the park up there, part of the reason that they take your license is so that they can do a background check to see whether or not you're a predator, and that's because of the school board stuff.
But wait a minute. You want those kids to swim out. You want those kids to swim out in the lake in that cold water during the wintertime.
Are you freaking kidding me? I did it.
I've done it too. But, helicopter parents these days, and then the school board will be liable for some kid getting hypothermia. You know how that goes. The lawyers get involved. And I'm not, I'm not going to get on my Cypress District rant tonight.
But I digress. If I'm Mitch Downey and the city of Bossier is willing to jump out there and burden the people of Bossier City with, footing this bill of, 30 to 40. I mean, even Tommy Chandler said it's going to be more than what the original estimate of $30 million is with appreciation. I mean, we're talking $40 to $50 million. Everybody in the city of Bossier is going to be burdened with a $50 million debt, essentially, to build this thing. If you're Mitch Downey, heck yeah. If I'm going to get a free ride for everybody in the parish,
make it a good ride.
Heck yeah, you need to do this. It ain't costing me nothing. Daggum right, I'm in support of it.
So Trish puts up another good comment. Says there is an indoor swim school in Bossier. Maybe they could contract with them. Yeah, a friend of mine, I think they use that swim school for their grandson, and they do a great job. I don't know how large the pool is indoors and how many kids they'll accommodate. I know the Y over in Bossier will accommodate a lot of folks. So, but anyway, good thought, Trish.
Now, I find it interesting that he puts in here, he says that the economic stimulus will reap tax dollars from visitors who will eat in restaurants and stay in hotels and shops.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me Are you
read
telling
second
me?
to last paragraph right there?
Yeah,
That's
and
what it said.
I'm sorry, folks, for not having it highlighted at the moment here. But yeah, second to the last paragraph above his signature. Um,
All the teachers are going to get a $600 raise, Rex.
well, I'm just thinking. Hold on, I'm just thinking about swimming only, and I'm thinking, why would people from out of town come to the Y to swim? Well, okay, swim meets, that sort of thing. I guess that's still pretty popular. But aren't they supposed to build like ballparks and the whole 9 yards at this proposed Y?
You know, I am glad that you brought that up. So you talked about earlier this North and South Bossier thing, and I've seen a lot of people, and I've had a couple of people say to me, like Rex says this North and South Bossier thing, and said we just don't believe it. We don't know. There's not this North South Bossier thing. There's not this disparity. I mean, that's bull crap. That's not true, right?
Well,
So,
if you want to
Rex,
believe that, go ahead, folks.
no,
But I'm
well,
just
okay,
telling you.
Rex, let me ask you a question. Do you know how many, YMCA, part of this proposal, they're going to build 9 more ball fields. I mean, that sounds pretty good, don't it?
Yeah, more ball fields, the better.
That's right.
T-ball,
Yeah.
baseball, all of that, travel ball, all of that's super popular. Softball, the whole 9 yards.
They're going to build 9 more ball fields. Nine at the YMCA. So let me ask you a question, Rex. Do you know how many ball fields that we have in south of I-20, which will make I-20 the Mason-Dixon line? I-20 is the Mason-Dixon line. Do you know how many ball fields there are south of I-20?
I have no idea.
I can tell you, there's 2.
2. Oh, how much on the north side of the Mason-Dixon line?
Are you sure you want me to answer that question?
Sure, go ahead. Let's see. Drum roll, please. Let's see. I don't have a drum roll thing yet, but we'll get one day. Anyway, drum roll, please.
There are 28.
28 versus 2.
There's 2 ball fields
Folks,
south of I-20.
If you don't
there
think
are-
there's a real north versus south mentality and undercurrent and all this, 28 on the north side, 2 in the south. Or let's see.
Now-
So if anybody wants to dispute that, go ahead.
Now there's a lot of people watching. They're saying, "No, come on now, that's bull crap. There ain't no way. There's no way that there's only 2 south of I-20 and there's 28 north of I-20." All right, for those of you that and the council folks that y'all are watching under aliases or what have you, okay, let's since you don't want to talk about this in your open council meeting and acknowledge it. I mean, and we get it, because it would be egg on your face because you would have to acknowledge that there's a disparity. We get it. So we're going to do it for you. So there's one at the Shady Grove Rec Center, and there's one at Hooter Park south of I-20. Now there's a little bit of a gray area. There's some people will say, but there's like 5 to 10 off of Cape La Sligo Road. But here's the thing, Rex. That's not in the city of Bossier. It's not even freaking close. And who paid for that? The parish paid for that. And the truth of the matter is, and don't take my word for it, all of you watching, go to Google Earth and look at the fields. They're basically nothing more than a damn cow pasture with an electric fence. And the parish is pissed off a shitload of money down there on that thing. And it ain't nothing but a glorified cow pasture.
Is anybody actually using those fields?
But to be politically correct, there is only 2 in the city limits of South Bossier. And okay, which part of the city has more rooftops, Rex? Statistically, I know you know this. Which part of the city? Is it South Bossier or North Bossier?
Oh, I'm probably going to get this wrong. I would say because of the growth, North Bossier right now, but
No.
but
wrong.
I was going to say, but it's probably South Bossier because it's the older part of the city.
We're talking about South Bossier. In the city limits, South Bossier has more rooftops. There has more residential people. So, I'm not trying to accentuate this north-south thing, but from the position of the politics here, we're talking about spending $40 million of taxpayer dollars to bring in a YMCA to build 9 more baseball fields in North Bossier. And here's the thing, there's already 28 North Bossier, and you say 28. Okay, no way. There's no way there's 28 ball fields. Okay, let me throw this out here at you guys. And you can check my math and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I actually went on Google Maps and I looked at the aerial and I counted them. And maybe my math's wrong. I am from Halton and I do have, hard hearing. But my vision said that there were 10 at Tinsley Ballfield. It said that there were 7 at Walbrook. It said that there were 3 at Meadowview. And it said that there were 8 at Clifford A. Allman. So if my math is correct, that's 28. Now, add the 9 additional more if Bossier City funds bringing a YMCA and build 9 more fields up there. I mean, come on now. That brings the number up to 37 and leaves South Bossier with 2. If you're in North Bossier, you have to acknowledge the disparity there. You can't say there's not a disparity there.
But wait
There
a
is
minute.
disparity there.
But wait a minute, Duke. As Ashley Lee reminds us, who has the most dollar stores? They're classy down there on Dollar Street Row.
Look,
And I have nothing against the dollar store.
I don't either.
Stop by there. My wife does sometimes too. And look, and I think you said this earlier too, we probably agree, neither one of us has a problem with the YMCA buying some land, leasing some land, building a building, and doing all this. Just whether or not they're going to use $30+ million of taxpayer funds to do that. Surely they have a budget and a way to pay this off.
Why can't private money fund it in Bossier? I mean, look, let me ask you this. Shreveport, they've got 2 YMCAs. Can you tell me how much in debt the taxpayers of the city of Shreveport are for the 2 YMCAs that they have in Shreveport?
I really don't know, but didn't one of the oil and gas companies build a nice new one across the river over there? Or substantially funded it, or whatever they did.
They sure did, and it's my understanding, of course, anybody watching, councilmen that are proposing this, David Montgomery, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2 in Shreveport were private, donations and funded by private entities. The Shreveport didn't have to pay for it. Why do the taxpayers of Bossier City have to fund it in Bossier? Why is it that they're the ones that are having to pay for it? Why is it not private? I don't understand. You should explain that.
Here's something interesting. Shane Cheatham just brought up. BHP paid for the first, or actually that would be the second, Shane, because there's a Y downtown or close to downtown Shreveport. So BHP paid for the nice new one right across the river, and a private donor is paying for the one on Ellerby Road.
So back to the ball fields.
Yeah.
Now this is another story that's brewing. And in another show, we're probably going to go down this list. But Rex, from our anonymous stuff, and we put it all out there. I mean, it's tough because, this crosses a lot of personal lines with people that we have relationships with and things. But, we're told that, the ball fields in Bossier are essentially not for public use. Yeah, there may be 28 ball fields in North Bossier, but they're not for public use. That there is a element of limitation to public use, and that only some private individuals and family of some people are the only ones that can use some in some places.
So you're telling me that if you're a member of the Good Old Boys network, that you get like a gold card to the ball fields or something?
That's what I'm saying, and there is apparently some evidence out there to support that, and that is being fed to us anonymously. I mean, look, all this baseball stuff and all, I don't understand it. None of my kids have participated in it. I don't know all the insides of it, but what I can tell you is I know that is some tight stuff. And there are some people sending us stuff, and I hate to go down that road, but there's no road that we don't go down. It's unfortunate, and it may burn bridges, but
So
we're
what do
going to
they
have to
do?
go there.
Like kick the kids off of the field? This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And yeah, as we get more, we'll be able to divulge or verify, then divulge more information on that. But this is nuts. I mean, there's literally drama everywhere and evidence of the good old boys network everywhere, including apparently fairly recently, right, Duke? I mean,
Yeah.
last
So
couple months.
yeah. So
Okay.
and getting back to the YMCA. So how does that even work? I mean, we're talking about the taxpayers of Bossier City. You're going to pay for this, and you're also not only are you going to pay for this in your taxes, you're going to also buy memberships to the YMCA.
Wait a
So
minute. Wait a minute. Our friend Ryan Haygood has a good point. He says we could buy First Church and put the YMCA there, central location for. Hey, they got a football or soccer field or whatever they built out there, and they're debt free, according to Brad.
Ryan Haygood, I can remember when I was in school, I played softball on the first Bossier ball fields behind First Church way back then. And I could tell you it was a big thing back then. Why does city government have to do these things when the churches can do these things? And I think that's part of the role of the church is,
And Duke,
nope.
when you mentioned the city's doing that, so I want to bring up one thing. Let me get this deal here out of the way. This is a comment from earlier from Julie Ferris. She says, Ruston City Council approved a new 1.75 hotel and restaurant tax in the form of a $20 million bond, blah, blah, blah. They spent $27 million so far. As a lot of people know, Ruston, and I'm from Ruston, or grew up half my life there. They did build a huge ball field and over there, but let me just say there was plenty of controversy over that as well and how that was done. And so, it's not like everybody in Ruston said, hey, let's go build a ball field. There was a lot of controversy and drama over there as well.
Yeah, it always is. I mean, and so taxpayer dollars, where is all this money coming from? Obviously, it's the taxpayer. If you live in Bossier City, you're the ones going to pay for this. So if your elected officials, David Montgomery, Bubba Williams, and all the rest of them, Mayor Chandler, who says he's against it and he's going to veto it, but I got to tell you, I got my reservations about that. We will see whether he holds true to his word or not. History so far shows that he wavers quite a bit. But,
Yes.
cut 13, I mean, I'm wondering, surely there's some numbers out there of, kind of how they think this thing's going to go, how it's going to turn out.
Well,
Gotta have
kind of
gotta have
interesting.
numbers.
Kind of interesting you should ask, because guess what? We have numbers.
Oh, isn't that ironic? Look at
Yes.
there.
Where did these come
Now,
from? That looks official.
some anonymous source, I guess, sent us some numbers. Look at that.
Hmm.
Anyway, maybe this is being shopped around, and it would appear that that's a card from the YMCA guy himself.
Yeah.
And interestingly, membership dues in the first year, there is an estimate that there will be $1,830,000 in membership dues just in the first year from you, the taxpayers of Bossier City. So not only are you going to pay taxes to build this thing, then you're going to pay an additional $1.8 million in the first year for membership dues.
Does anybody watching know what does a YMCA membership cost per year? Does anybody know how much the one in Shreveport charges per year? We could do some quick math and see how many members they plan on getting in year one.
That's an amazing thing. And more interestingly, in the expenses there, salaries and wages, it's almost $1 million in salary and wages just in the first year.
Yeah.
$1 million, Rex.
Yeah. Well, and look, these are budgets, these are projections. You gotta pad them a little bit. Better to shoot high than shoot low. So I'll give them a little credit where credit's due. And again, wouldn't be a concern to us except for $30 million plus of taxpayer dollars potentially. And you're right, Julie. Do they have a line in here for insurance? Let's see.
I have not found that. You need to look at that.
They did not put an overhead line in here for insurance. Shame on them, unless I'm just not seeing it. So, yeah, that's a good question, Julie. Number one, do they plan on having insurance? Because they didn't include it in their overhead. And number two, gee, I wonder who their insurance agent and company and person might be for the YMCA. Who could that be?
That is too close to home. No way. But I'll tell you, probably what we could do is send a public information request to the YMCA's in Shreveport, and we could probably rule that out pretty quick. But I don't believe that.
Well, maybe. And now the YMCA is pretty much. Are they still a private? Maybe a 501c3 or whatever they are.
Probably.
If they're 501c3, they're still susceptible to public information requests, I think. I'd have to double check.
Look,
but anyway.
Look, we beat up on David. We do. And I'll acknowledge that. We do beat him up. And
Sure.
But, look, if any of you other folks want to get in there and try to mix it up, get in there and compete with him.
Sure.
That's the problem. Nobody else is in there competing with him.
Yeah.
Fighting him on it.
I honestly can't really blame him. It just gives us more to talk about. And I don't begrudge anybody with a business making money. It's just that it's so closely tied to being, a city councilman and all this other stuff that, that's where it starts getting a little sketchy. And that's why we pick on him so much about it. Other than that, I don't care whether he's an insurance agent or not. Or is in insurance or whatever. All right. So I just want to share.
I do give a damn when it gets into whether or not I get a damn free boat sticker or not.
Yeah, boat stickers, cabins, gosh. I'm not so sure I want to stay up there and hang out with those folks anyway, but you do bring up a good point. We're going to get to that one day too. So, but I did want to share that Cliff Smith says $50 fee, $54 a month for an adult, $75 and $90 a month for a family. Who else? Somebody else had put. Shane Cheatham said 80 or 85. Ashley Thompson McDonald said 90 a month. So.
P.S. It's too late to hide it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't stress yourself out.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, folks, this is their projection. So they're looking at having a. They had their membership numbers down there. Well, gosh, I guess I should have just scrolled down to the bottom. So they're looking at 2,500 members membership for year 1, year 2, 3,000, year 3, 3,300. Am I reading that right? They're looking at year 1 being in the black?
They are, absolutely.
Interesting.
I'm told that memberships are going to be to the tune of a single membership is going to be approximately $55 a year, and a couple membership will be to the tune of $90 per year.
One other thing I don't see insurance listed here in their projections. But again, it's been a long time since I've done any projections. But I don't see insurance listed in their expenses, and I don't see lease. Maybe the first 3 years they're not going to have to pay a lease to the city once the city buys the land and leases it back out to them. Maybe they're giving them the first 3 years free.
Maybe so. I think I am going to send you yes, I am sending you a rate sheet as we speak.
Okay.
Bam.
By text message? Yes.
Yeah, you should have it.
Okay. Yeah, somebody else said that they had pulled that up. Let me drag this over. Give me just a second.
Ryan Haygood says it's easy to be in the black when taxpayers build you a $30 million building. So it raises the question. Tommy Chandler said, he would veto anything, if it was just building something for $30 million and then giving it away. Well, you said lease, so that makes me wonder. Maybe he's technically, when he says that to the public, maybe he's technically saying that, well, you know what? We're not going to give away the building. We're going to own the building. We're just going to let them have it, and we're still going to retain it. So therefore, he could be good with it. Is that what he's saying?
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that Tommy was actually being politically careful in his wording and planned that before he said it? Are you telling me that?
It just struck me as we're sitting here talking and you say it. It just struck me that maybe he was uh, being more savvy than we gave him credit for.
Hey, stranger things have happened. Miracles never cease. All right. So we're pretty much beating the YMCA Village People horse to death here.
Yeah, let me wrap it up.
Yeah, let's
So,
wrap it up.
the citizens of Bossier, you're going to have to pay taxes to pay for a YMCA to the tune of $40 million. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to have to get a membership if you want to go there. And the school board, they're good with it. Mitch Downey, he's good with it. And apparently the police jury is good with it as well, although we don't have confirmation on that, but we are told that a lot of police jury members are good with it. In fact, they're all good with it so long as the citizens of Bossier are footing the bill for everybody else. Now, you either think that's great or you don't think that's great. Here's my question, Rex. The city council and the mayor just articulated $75 million in new debt that they haven't disclosed what it was for in the city of Bossier.
You're right, they haven't.
They just passed $75 million in bonds and they got no idea what the projects are for. At least they haven't told the public what it's for, but by gosh, we're going to go in debt $75 million and we don't know what it's for. Now, I'm just wondering if we're going to spend $40 million of bonds on old bonds, we're going to take that $40 million of old bonds. If we need $75 million, why couldn't we use that old bonds of $40 million? Why couldn't we use that money for whatever projects it is that we're shooting for the $75 million? Why do we have to put the citizens of Bossier in debt? $40 million for a YMCA, then an additional $75 million. Why can't we use the $40 million of the YMCA towards whatever it is they intend to use the $75 million for? Why is that?
I don't know. It's that whole. I just go back to the saying of dazzle them with brilliance or baffle them with bullshit. And I think everybody can pretty much figure out which route most government entities take.
And if you're a Bossier City Councilman, and this goes for Chris Smith, it goes for, and I'm going to say them in the order: Chris Smith, Vince Maggio, Jeff Free, Darby, Bubba, Irwin, I will cut you out because you're not going to be there for long.
Yeah, he's
and
a short
Montgomery,
termer.
by all means, any one of you explain it to us. And Mayor Chandler, you're more than welcome. Explain it to us what the $75 million is for. And if you already have an idea what it's for, then why couldn't you use the $40 million that you plan to plug in on old debt and extend out for 20 more years that was supposed to be paid for in 2 to 3 years? Why do you seek to put the city of Bossier in debt more with the 75? Why can't you use that $40 million in the old debt? Why can't you move that right along? Explain it to us. I mean, I'm dying to know, and I know the citizens of Bossier are dying to know why you're so eager to put them in debt. Who's going to benefit from this? Explain it to us. We want to know, because I don't get it because it doesn't make rational sense. The why
I
of
agree.
the school board, the why of the school board and the police jury, that makes sense. It's not costing them any money. I mean, if they were having to contribute money into it, I think we would know. But they're not they're going to be for it. I mean, by all means, city of Bossier, you want to spend, knock your taxpayers down, by all means, knock your taxpayers down. Heck yeah, they're going to be for it. But city of Bossier, Mayor Chandler, city council, explain it to us. We're dying to know.
I agree. And look, our good friend of Bossier now put a comment in. Glad to have you watching over there, Hal. What city passes, just what you said, Duke, what city passes a $75 million bond without disclosing what it's for? Who has ever heard of that?
Now,
You got to pass it to see what's in it.
Bossier now is on the mark, and I would cue in Bossier now and everybody watching. So the bond commission will have a meeting about this. And I think that probably people could demand at that meeting and show up or participate or demand or request that there be an explanation as to what these bonds are specifically being used for. You know, it's part of your civic duty, like showing up at a council meeting or showing up at a police jury meeting or a school board meeting. I think you can send emails to them. You know, the Secretary of the Treasury, I think he is the chairman of that commission. I would encourage people to send emails. And I would also encourage people to send emails to your city councilman. Rex, did you know that there's a whisper campaign going on against the existing city councilman in support of the YMCA? Did you know that?
Wait a minute. No, I did not. This is news to me.
I'm sorry.
I'm learning something tonight.
I haven't told you this.
I don't think
I
so.
know, and I have it on good authority that there is a whisper campaign of people sending emails to the councilman expressing their support for putting the city in more debt in support of the YMCA.
Really?
Yeah, but look, I mean, I got no problem with that.
Right.
If somebody's in support, it's politics.
Sure.
You know, they're getting people that they know are pro YMCA to contact the councilman and tell them that they support it. I got no problem with that. That's part of all of our civic duties. But everybody needs to know that that's taking place. So if you are against putting the city more in debt for a YMCA, you're being out-politicked by pro-YMCA forces. And if you're against it, I got to tell you, you need to be expressing your concern to the city councilman. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And I'm sitting here paying attention to a couple of technical things for a minute, so forgive me. And we've got a bunch of comments scrolling in too, by the way. But yeah, just, you know, again, that's the thing, is being more transparent. You know, putting less of this hide behind the scenes kind of thing. I don't know. Like I've said before, nothing in government short of a military operation, pretty much nothing else, or spy operations, nothing else should be secret. Nothing.
Nothing should. And in all fairness, everybody out there, to the YMCA, again, we are not bashing the YMCA.
Right.
Look, Rex, I remember when the YMCA was right there off of Melrose on the other side of the airline, you know, where they are. It's a family practice clinic now, but I remember going there when I was in high school. And I enjoyed it, lifting weights. It was, but YMCA left. And with that said, I would ask the question, what happens when these numbers don't pan out for the YMCA and they leave?
Right.
Where's the city of Bossier and the taxpayers of Bossier left? They're left with a $40 million facility. Now they're in the health and fitness business. What happened with Bossier Medical Center? Folks remember that? City of Bossier didn't have a problem with getting out of the medical business, but now they want to get in the health and fitness business. Why is that?
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, where are we going here, guys? Y'all gotta pay attention.
Yeah, and here's the other thing you need to do as we kind of start wrapping it up at 2 hours and 20 some odd minutes. David Johnson says if a dime of taxpayer money is spent, bash it. Well, to bash it, you got to let your city councilman know. Y'all got to call them, email them, fax them. I don't care. Go to the city council meeting, whatever you got to do. Let them know directly. Watching our show and commenting is great. We appreciate all of it, and this is the way we get the word out. But got to do the other part, which is directly letting all the city councilmen know, especially yours in your district, but the city councilmen at large, and heck, let the ones from the other districts know while you're at it.
And in all fairness, everybody needs to know. I mean, because a lot of people are going to say that we're bashing YMCA. Look, we reached out to the YMCA guy. This guy,
Yes, we
Gary
did.
Lash, we reached out to him and asked him to come on the show, talk about it, explain. We asked for, we got no response from him. We got nothing. Zero,
Zero.
nada. He did not want to engage on it. So this is a stealth campaign. I would argue on behalf of the YMCA and some city councilmen. I think we will know once the city council of Bossier meets and they go forward with this, we will know where the rubber meets the road. You're going to be able to see which councilmen are worried about the debt. They're worried about, what the city of Bossier taxpayer, what their portion of the bill is. And I mean, look, 30, what we come up to? 37. If you do the YMCA project, you're talking about 37 ball fields for North Bossier, north of I-20, and 2 south of I-20. I mean, look, I'm not a South Bossier guy. I'm a North Bossier guy. I mean, I'm originally from Halton. I live in North Bossier, but I got to tell you, if you live in North Bossier, if you do not acknowledge that disparity, you're not being honest. You're not being honest. Currently,
Yeah.
28-2. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I'm
T-
just grinning here.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
I'm grinning here because Mandy Maddox said if the village people were going to actually run it, I'd be more inclined to be in favor. And honestly, I have to agree. I would trust the village people running this thing rather than our current city council crop, with the exception of 1, maybe 2 councilmen. I'd trust the village people first.
Look, and I like. I mean, I told somebody today. Every one of the people that are council members, Tommy Chandler, I've been friends with each one of these people. I mean, 20 to 30 plus years. I've known every one of them for it's over 30 years. I've known them all, long time. I don't think that any of these folks are truly bad people, but I think people get caught up in this, this vicious circle, and I think they lose sight of what it's about. And you know, they can be mad at me or us, Rex, about what we're doing, about shining a light on this or whatever. But I hope that maybe the conclusion of what we're doing is that we provide them perspective. And if they look at it and they think that our perspective is skewed, looking at it from the perspective of a ball field of 28 north of I-20 and 2 in South Bossier, and there's not a problem there, man, I got to tell you, I don't know.
Well, look, something just ain't quite right.
Something's not quite right. And anyway,
All
I'll
right.
leave it at that. 28
Yeah.
versus 2, that's a rout.
Yeah, so do we have another show before our next our topic that we had there at the end?
Yeah, you're right, Rex. We were going to, in this show, we had planned on kind of going down the tale of 2 police chiefs. And, you'd kind of been really following that. And, but we've got another show and the ability, and maybe you want to enlighten everybody about kind of what's coming down the pipe. And, there's some movement on the situation pertaining to the police chief in Bossier City. So,
Yeah, and so basically, and again, we're going to spend a little more time on this in a future show as we get a little bit closer to it, but there is going to be a public civil service board, what do they call it, a hearing, coming up on December the 1st by the Bossier City Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board, and it's regarding whether, and this is according to reporting by Bossier Now, whether the mayor violated a board rule as it relates to McWilliams' reassignment. Shane McWilliams, I guess he's still police chief, technically. The public meeting is going to be held, again, Wednesday, December 1st at 9 a.m. at the Bossier City Chambers. It is a public meeting. I would suggest that as many of our followers as possible go to that public meeting if you can. I know it's going to be 9 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, but if you can, if at all possible. Because they're all, not only are they going to be looking into the McWilliams Tommy Chandler's situation, but the Civil Service Board has also requested an investigation into substitute Chief Estes. And that's concerning, quote, possible political violations by substitute Chief Estes. And we covered and touched on some of that before. So this is turning into a soap opera.
It is a big old soap opera. I mean, and I got to tell you, I mean, like, look, I was the Civil Service Board representative of the fire department. You know that, Rex. We talked about that in a previous show and all this going on. I mean, man, there's a lot of rocks to be thrown here, and none of it is good for the police department. I mean, does some of it lay at the feet of Tahoe Tommy? I would argue, yeah, it does. And is Shane McWilliams, does he own some fault? Yeah. Does Chris Estes? Maybe. Is there some questionable stuff there? Yeah, maybe. I mean, but I don't know. It goes into a bigger question about civil service. I have my personal feeling about civil service, and you and I talked about having a show specifically about that. A lot of people, when we start talking about civil service, they're probably like, man, you guys are talking Greek, because they don't understand civil service. They don't even know what it's about. There's pros and cons to it, but the idea of civil service is to protect you from what's happening in Bossier City right now.
Right.
Ideally, and it's not working.
Yeah, it's definitely not working, at least like it should. So again, we'll talk some more about that on a future show, but it is coming up. So I guess actually we'll probably be talking about it next week.
Yeah, next week, and I think the city council is going to be dealing with the Shed Road issue pretty quick as well too, and that one just makes me sick.
Yeah,
makes me disgusted. The council, you guys, my gosh, I am depressed with you over that. But anyway,
that's
another show, Rex. It is what it is.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody watching. We've been hanging around 60 folks for the last 30, 45 minutes. That's pretty good considering these have, last several shows have been extended shows, but there's so much information to talk about. And we appreciate all the comments. We appreciate all the support. Even if you don't agree with us, we appreciate you putting your two thoughts or your thoughts and your 2 cents into the comments. Because, hey, it sparks a dialogue and a debate and a discussion. We appreciate everybody being relatively civil in the comments as well. We have a very high tolerance, so we'll let a lot of things go as long as it doesn't turn into super personal attacks. We're good with it. So we appreciate everybody. Don't forget, create a Proton Mail account if you want to send us some anonymous information, if I can talk this evening. BossierWatch@ProtonMail.com. If you have general information, BossierWatch@gmail.com. You can go to the website and send us files, BossierWatch.org/send. You can donate on the website if you want. If not, a little coffee money. If not, hey, we're doing this anyway because we're amateurs. We know it. We've been called amateurs a lot, but we're having fun.
We've been called worse. And
a lot worse.
A lot worse. And Rex, I would only add, I can't add a lot to make anything better than what you already said. You summed it up perfectly. But I would ask all the folks that are watching, we need your help. I mean, we're trying to make folks more knowledgeable about what's going on in Bossier. And we can only do that with your help. We need you to recruit people to come into the show. Yeah. We need you to invite
the more
people
the merrier.
And get them to interact and comment and give us their opinions. We want to know, because the truth of the matter is our opinions may be wrong. Yeah. What we're thinking and what all of us are saying in the comments, it may not be the view of the majority of folks in the show. And whether they agree with us or disagree with us, we still need them in there. I mean, if David Montgomery wanted to get in here and tell us that we're complete idiots and give us his reason he believes we're idiots, you know what? That's welcome. We need to hear that.
Absolutely.
We need to hear that. So help us invite people to like the page and invite people to, join in the commentary. We need your help.
Yep, we need your help. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your
Absolutely.
enjoy it with your family and friends. Let the politics go by the wayside for at least a few hours on Thanksgiving Day over dinner. And we will see y'all next Tuesday about the same time, about 7 o'clock.
Have a good one, Rex. See ya.
Adios, amigo.